Do either of you have a response? Further response?
This isn't so much a response to the question as a comment on Isabelle Stengers' reply. Perhaps I could put one issue between us by raising the question, does the notion of abstraction, could one substitute the notion of language for the notion of abstraction? Could one substitute the notion of words for the notion of abstractions? If so, I'd be inclined to say my view is that only new words can save us from old words. Thus, only new abstractions can save us from old abstractions. No use of language is more abstract than another. Blake is as abstract as Newton. But Stengers sees the need to formulate new abstractions as the result of encounters with something that is not itself an abstraction, not itself more words. Whereas I see it as just words in contest with other words. On this Wittgensteinian view I'm trying to peddle, there isn't a thing outside of language that we encounter, and then as a result of encountering it, do something to use new words.
Yeah, I want to say something about that because I think that's at the nub of the both what we agree with each other about and disagree with each other about. And I think one of the reasons that I'm finding the particular little discipline that I tried to describe, the little training discipline, it's not a big world-shaking issue. Therefore, it's a good place to inhabit. There's something at risk, but the world's not at risk. And it is precisely that there is an abstraction luring our becoming with each other. These are, of course, my words for this. That is not fundamentally linguistic, and that is fundamentally can't be, in part because one of the key partners, who is a co-player, not merely the material for playing, is not a linguistic critter. And there's a deep way in which whatever it is that we do when we do it, or luring for, I can say that it's the good run. Now that, of course, is a linguistic term. And it's a perfectly good language game for describing in a thick and rich sense. Okay, the training languages are rather rich. However, they are not what we actually achieve. And I believe that what Stengers and Whitehead are doing has to do with abstraction more in that sense. That working with a fundamentally non-linguistic critter, you may have aspects, teaches me to pay more attention to that, though I don't believe it's only uniquely present there. I think it's actually even generalizable, or in any case, transportable. And that you can't translate abstractions into words. I certainly can't, not there. And the way I can't is telling me something interesting about how that is true also in other situated places of being lured, including the example of the explicit language game of the mitochondrial cell membrane. But there's some kind of coming together of structural functionalism there that is lured by an abstraction that is the language game is necessary to it, but it is not sufficient for it, I think, somehow.
And if I may add another example, which is not world-shattering either, even if it has played a shattering role in Western thought, it's mathematics. Mathematics have been celebrated as the place where meaning, discursive meaning, is self-sufficient. But when you learn mathematics, and when you try to learn mathematics to somebody who do not understand, you understand the epoch-making difference that I got it make. I mean, before, when you try to learn to somebody, you use the words and for you, and it's the great drama of mathematical teacher, those words are self-sufficient. They tell you everything you have to understand, and they are mute for the other. Till this I got it experience which, when it comes, can really be celebrated together, but in an asymmetric way, a release for the teacher, and something really new in her or his own way of functioning for the one who got it. I think that mathematics is the place for the greatest power of discursive knowledge and the greater feeling of unpower when somebody doesn't get it, and the words which are functioning for you are just mute and insane, or just to be obeyed, blindly obeyed, and this is not mathematics for the other.
I'm going to open this up to a couple of streams that have been broached by some of the online participants. But I wanted to ask a question, in fact, that has risen from the three descriptions here of language, because there was a certain consonance between, Dick, your focus on vocabulary and then your sort of attention to the Adamic language, which is the language of naming. And what Isabelle is, I think, stressing, and which is in some sense counterintuitive with Whitehead, because the first thing that anybody notices in Whitehead is that the words are strange. The words are being used strangely. But I think what you said, what appealed to you in Whitehead was basically the syntactic analysis that he permitted. And so that this aspect of language, which is not reducible to names, although one might find them within words by forms of troping and so on and so forth, but and one needs to name them. Name, all syntactic gestures can be named. But so whether so partly you were describing a need to go beyond language for one's models of abstraction, but partly whether to some degree one can find a more generous concept of language that is not, in other words, we're working with various models of language here. If anybody wants to comment how this does or does not operate in relation to your understanding of Whitehead.
I have a very quick thing to say. I also meant beyond syntax, because I am persuaded by a paper by Noam Chomsky and Hauser and a third author I'm blanking on, that I cannot, it is not accurate to say that this social partner of mine is engaged in syntactical production. And together, I am, but what we're doing has aspects of that. And by syntax, I mean something rather strict, which has to do with the infinite recombinability, the computational aspects of syntax. I'm taking a fairly strict linguist notion of syntax there. However, I do believe, which, by the way, is what involves inventiveness. I believe that there is a proto-syntactical, or some other word we need. I don't want a trope linked to language. That's why I used the word play. Right. A kind of inventiveness, something that wasn't there, semiotically rich and produced, involving affect, corporeality, semiotic production, but for which syntax is really the wrong word. So it's not just names.
Yeah, I was trying to be a witness of, indeed, the kind of fecundity working and writing with Whitehead entailed for me, I mean. Really, when writing a paper or the book where I was filling it, very often I would really hesitate for a long time before knowing in this situation who was the active, because syntax is also that. What is active, what is passive, what is the move of the action, I mean, what is doing what to what. And that's how I would understand syntax. When I said we are not maintaining language, we are not maintaining abstraction maintains us. If you can, and that's the beauty with that, you can hear it like a play of words, as a sophisticated play, I mean, theoretically sophisticated, proving that I am a sophisticated person. But when writing the book, it was not like that. It was a matter of, producing, being the site for the production of something which, to me, has the impact of a proposition, or just living the habit, things in spite of me. So this is what, to me, Whitehead may be doing to my linguistic way of being. It's really challenging the usual distribution of what is doing what to what.
Do you have anything you want to add?
Let me just clarify what I was trying to say about words and abstractions. I think we might be better off if we just dropped the abstract-concrete distinction and instead just talked about linguistic practices and